Remember F.E.A.R? First Encounter Assault Recon came out in 2006 for like the PC, then also I believe the Xbox 360, which is what I'm playing it on right now, and later on as well for the PlayStation 3. But yeah, playing the 360 version right here, and also the German 360 version. Of course, this having come out in 2006, it was still part of that whole time period in Germany where like school shootings were happening and violent games were discussed a lot in the media, and yeah, as a result a lot of games were like censored, and this is very much part of that, as I was saying. And you will already realize that these guys are not bleeding, and this guy just vanished in front of me, because in the original he would have been blown into pieces. Like limbs would have went flying, but in the German version they just dematerialize, which is very, very fucking immersion breaking, and I hate it. Of course, like in 2014 that is not an issue anymore in Germany, but back then it was a big deal. Gamers really had to worry about the state of their games and what they would do to them in order to then be able to release them in Germany, because of course they don't want to miss out on the revenue, but in order to then achieve that revenue and allow the game to come out in Germany, they would cut it up a lot. And that sucks so much. It really, really does, because especially right here in F.E.A.R, it's very much immersion breaking. Like not having these guys lose blood, but then still like scripted blood puddles take place. Kind of weird, right? I mean, I want to have my shooting and my doing affect the world that I'm in, and very much not the case, at least looking at the blood here in F.E.A.R. And then also the fact that they just dematerialize, very much like this guy just did, doesn't really help all that much either. But yeah, basically what you want to take away from it, back then things were a little very, very, very different in Germany, looking at violent video games, like violent video games in air quotes, I guess. But see, like this blood puddle there, all of what this would have caused, not there, and that is just wrong, isn't it? But let's just not let's not only talk about Germany and the German version of the game, because in the end that's not going to affect a lot of you guys. Let's much rather talk a little bit about F.E.A.R itself and what I feel about F.E.A.R. Now, it's really refreshing, right? It's refreshing to play a game, a shooter, that came out before Modern Warfare did, because that kind of changed the whole genre, right? After Modern Warfare hit and was such a big success, people started focusing much more on set pieces and having like this very epic scripted experience. F.E.A.R is not like that. I mean, it is still scripted. A lot of games are. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it just oh, okay, that guy's broken. That actually scared me more than any horror game, so horror element so far in the game. But right, yeah, F.E.A.R just presents itself very, very differently, because it just gives you a level and you have to go explore it. And the whole thing about the health system, it being one that requires health kits. Oh, shit, there's a guy there. Yeah, one that requires you to keep picking up health kits also very much encourages exploration. You're running around a lot, you're trying to increase your odds essentially by picking up all kinds of things and doing things that way. And it's awesome to have to do that, because of course if you have a automatically recharging health, no need for that. You can just go through the level and go on that roller coaster ride that a lot of modern shooters are. But here you have to kind of invest yourself a little bit more in the whole game, and the horror certainly adds to that as well, because they draw heavy inspiration from, for example, the Ring series and other Japanese horror movies. And yeah, that is German, my friends. Kind of stupid that I have to show it to you like that, but unfortunately this was the only version I was able to get. So shut up with your German Paxton, and let's move on right here. But yeah, horror elements, hopefully I will be able to show off a little bit more of those as we go on here. Of course, I don't know what that was just all about. Maybe that was my doing, maybe not though. And yeah, Paxton does not really get me very often. Of course, now watch me get scared by him, and it's just a matter of seconds. But there's also, of course, Alma in the F.E.A.R series that you guys are probably more familiar with. She's usually yeah, like the mascot, I guess, of F.E.A.R, what is used as the mascot for F.E.A.R. It's kind of weird to call her that, but in the end, I believe that's kind of what they were going for. Alright, and now we're gonna get a little bit more of a horror set piece right here. As I was saying, it's still a scripted game, it's just that it presents itself very differently to you.
Mir war nicht klar. Die Toten bleiben tot.
Yeah, the dead stay dead. I don't know, I'm apparently in a different section now. Does that make sense? I couldn't tell you. But alright, we'll just go along with it. There was just now a shadow there. I'm pretty excited that we now get to explore some horror elements though, so hopefully you will enjoy that, and hopefully I will be able to, I don't know, just get across what I think about F.E.A.R, because as I was saying earlier, there's not only positives connected to, oh my god, alright, we'll have to be a little bit careful right now because I actually do not want to die at all. There's very much positives connected to the fact that it's an old school game. Very much like when you compare it to other shooters, it's just refreshing. It's kind of exciting to play something like this, and it's a lot of fun to go back and play shooters that kind of work differently. But at the same time, game didn't really age very well. It doesn't look all that great anymore. It's one of the earlier 360 games, and of course back then they didn't have like the full grasp on how to properly develop for that platform. And it shows, it absolutely shows. At times it looks pretty atrocious, at times it looks okay. But that certainly takes away from it, unfortunately. And then I also would say that back then they, of course, did a good job with all those horror elements, and I find them to be engaging. But more so because I know that the game is trying to scare me, and the actual scares aren't all that significant, I find. Like, they are not the best scares I've ever seen in a game. Usually they're pretty cheesy. Of course, I do absolutely need to stress that the whole German voice acting is terrible, and of course the game being censored certainly may take away from all of that, and if I had played the game uncut, I probably would have had a different opinion on it, or at least a more positive opinion when it comes to F.E.A.R. But with everything that this German version presents to me, I at times find it very hard not to cringe a lot. It makes me cringe a lot. And that, of course, as I was saying, is absolutely partially because of the bad voice acting that they unfortunately have in the game, but also just that they kind of sloppily handled a lot of the aspects. Back then, it was absolutely state of the art. It was a good game. I remember reading a lot of reviews on this and people like gushing over it, and I find it to be engaging, but it just didn't age well. That is what I'm saying here. Playing this in 2014 feels weird because games as a medium certainly have moved on a lot. They have also made steps back, but it kind of shows that design-wise there are certainly issues back then, and games just played a little bit differently. Anyway, we're gonna keep playing a little bit more. Hopefully I'm gonna be able to show you guys a little bit more of the whole dematerialization aspect of things and just how messed up this version of the game is. I would love to have played the uncut version, but it's just that really just in 2014 you don't have to think about that anymore. Germany is very different now looking at these kinds of games. You don't have to worry about whether your game is going to be cut or whatever. you'll just go out, buy it, and it's probably your like the version you want. But there we go. He dematerialized. It's so funny how that happens. But yeah, so I just went ahead and blindly bought F.E.A.R, essentially, a game that is now like 8 years old, and probably kind of regret going at it like that, because I much would have preferred picking up like a uncut UK version of the game. Voice acting would have been okay. The whole blood stuff would have been okay. And I was trying to stress it earlier, like, I don't need the blood. It probably doesn't add too much to the game itself, right? The gameplay mechanics, but still, you immediately sense that this game was designed with blood in mind, right? You will still find these puddles and stuff like that. It's just that it's so discouraging to realize that I'm not getting the full experience here. This is just yeah, like a cut down version of what otherwise could have been a much more enjoyable experience. I still would certainly recommend F.E.A.R. I think it's a good time, especially for those of you out there that want to go back and play a shooter that is not just this corridor thing. It's pretty linear, but it doesn't feel like it because it presents itself differently. And if you're looking for that kind of experience, also if you're looking for a neat little horror experience, F.E.A.R is certainly something for you. So I hope you enjoyed this Remember episode. I'm gonna probably end it right here. And yeah, just ask you real quick whether you have played F.E.A.R yourself, what you think about it, whether you liked it. And next time I will certainly be back with a different game for another episode of Remember. So yeah, with all of that out of the way, thank you so much for watching. I didn't mean to burp there, but thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later. Goodbye.